Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is the ninth video in the series Thesis Writing with Microsoft Word. This is Mohammed Tel again. You are welcome. In this video, we are going to look at how to split cells in our tables, how to match cells, and how to use the draw table tool. We're also going to look at how we can hide table borders when there's need for doing that. Let's go into our Microsoft Word document to see it practically. So we go to the Microsoft document by going to the taskbar and starting our Microsoft Word. Now in this document, we observe that we have two almost identical tables. The first table has a header row that is made up of a single cell in each column, whereas the header row in the second table is made up of multiple cells in the row. So suppose we are given the first table and we are asked to transform it into the second table. The first thing that we should do is to highlight the header row for the first table. Once we have highlighted that, we go to the table layout. In the table layout tab, we look for insert above, that is insert rows above. We click it so that a row will be inserted at the top of the topmost row. You can see now that ID has a cell above it, student name has a cell, and so on. Now, we want to turn these two cells, the cell above student name and the one containing student name, into three cells. First, let me highlight the student name here, cut it, and then place it in the cell above it. I place my student name here. So the next thing is to split this cell into two. Once you are in the cell, you can click on the table layout, look for split cells here. Once you click the split cells, you have the split cells dialog box, which asks you for the number of columns you want the cell to be split into and the number of rows. Right now we're interested in only two columns and one row. So it is as we have on the dialog box. So we click OK. And once we do that, you'll see that our cell has been split into two columns. So we can type the first name here and press our tab key to go to the next cell and type last name. And of course, we should highlight the two cells and make them bold-faced so that it reflects what we see in the target table. The next thing is for us to split this column into two. And to split the column into two, rather than use the split cells button, we are going to use the draw table button, still under the table layout tab. To the far left of that ribbon, you see that there's this draw table button. If I click it, I will pick something like a pencil. I will now draw directly from here and come down here. So you can see now I have split the column into two. Now I can now recopy this, or rather highlight this name, cut it, and bring it back to where it is supposed to be. It was here before, so I put it back. Now I can gradually highlight each of the last names in the given names, cut them and place them in the last name cells. So we have cut Yusuf. We go for Okoro, highlight, Control X to cut, press the tab to go to the next cell, press Control V to press Okoro there. I highlight Ibrahim from press Ibrahim's name. Let me just use the Shift key with the left arrow to highlight Ibrahim. Control X, press the tab key, then Control V to paste it in the cell. And then we can now use we can highlight Adeyemi. Control X, tab key to move to the next cell, and Control V to paste it. Now we have almost something identical to the second table. The next thing that we have that is not reflecting what we see in the target table is that in the first column we have two cells for ID. One is blank and the other one is containing ID. So we need to match these two cells. That is, convert the two cells into a single cell. That's the meaning of merging the cells. So I highlight the first cell and drag down while holding my mouse button until I highlight the two cells, and then I can go to the table layout tab again and look for merge cells. There at the top there we see merge cells. If I click, then we have converted the two cells into a single cell. We apply the same procedure to these two cells by highlighting the two cells, going to the merge cell tab here button here and click to merge the two cells. The same thing with This is for status. We go to match cell and match it. But then we see that the ID entry here is in the middle of the cell, as well as the project title and the status. So what we do is that we highlight the ID cell still under the table layout. We look for under the alignment group, we look for this particular button and click so that the ID will now come to the middle of the cell. We do the same for project. We highlight the project cell and the status cell to give them the same treatment. So let me just pick them one by one. Here we have this one and this one here. We highlight. So you can see we have now transformed the first table into the second table. So that is how we match cells, that's how we split cells, and that is how we use the draw table tool. Now the other thing that we said we were going to cover is to hide the border the table is to hide the table border. So if we want to hide the entire border for the table, we can click on the table handle here. We click it, then we can go to the home tab if we want. Then we can see here under the paragraph we have something like the grid here, and we can click this arrow, and then we can now say no border. And once we do that, you can see that all the border is gone. You may think that the border is still there, but if I say Control P to show something like printing, you'll see that the border is actually not there. And you can see that there's no border there. So, but we can choose to bring in some other borders. For example, we want to just bring in this border here and show only this border, horizontal border, to underline the head, to separate the row, header row and the rest of the table. We can just highlight this particular row, the second row, of course. Once we highlight the second row, we go to the same home tab and click here to look at the top border. If we click the top border, you'll see that it has now placed a line between the header row and the rest of the table. And if we want to display any other border, we do the same. For example, if we want to display this border here, we can now highlight this column, depending on whichever column you want to highlight. If I highlight this column, I will bring in the I will now bring in the left border. But if I highlight the right this column, I will bring in the right border. So depending on which one you highlight, let me highlight this particular column so that I go to the home tab and then go to the table borders there, and then I can now highlight I can now select the left border, and so you can see my left border has come out. So if we now Control P to see clearly how these things appear, you will see that we have our line separating the header row and the rest of the table. We have also our border separating the status and the left side of the table. So this is how far we can go in this video. I hope you have found it interesting. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you for watching.